Well, good morning, everyone. This is day 28 and 29 for the video capture. Amazingly, I started from Johnson City yesterday morning, started off about 10 o'clock, and did not think I would make it to Bristol. That was about it ends up being almost a 20-mile hike. Actually put on 18 and a half miles on the feet yesterday, which is by far the longest day's journey I've taken. And I guess all things considered, I don't feel all that bad. My dogs are barking a little bit, but don't feel too bad. I'm just here now waiting. It started raining late in the day yesterday. Had my weather gear out, but the temperatures dropped too, so I got kind of cold and it was rainy and just kind of nasty out there. Got here, it was about a little after 8 o'clock when I finally got to this point in Bristol, where I could find a little motel and duck in out of the rain. So now I'm just kind of waiting a little bit and hoping. They're claiming that the clouds are going to clear and the rain's going to subside. So I'm just kind of hanging here a little bit and hoping that happens before I leave. So I'm in Bristol. I will be in Virginia. Certainly by the next video. I'm not very far from the Virginia border right now. I think I'm just a few miles from there. I got to check out the maps, but Tennessee is all but history. I had a great walk through Tennessee, met some fantastic people, some great patriots in Tennessee, and right at the end of my journey, as I hit Bristol, I even walked right by the Bristol Speedway, which is the big national speedway here in Tennessee, or at least one of them, and it's an imposing structure, very large. I guess the track, excuse me, I guess the track isn't necessarily all that big from what I've heard, although I didn't see it. But certainly the stands and the structure around the track is very imposing, very impressive. Did a radio interview with one of the local radio talk show hosts here. His name is John, and very much appreciate that. The key is getting the word out. I mean, that's the key. And within less than 5 minutes of that interview, I had people coming up to me. They recognized that I was the guy walking through. So, excuse me, lots of support. Lots of support. I would say up to now, about 90% of the people I've talked to are 100% for Freedom Walk 2010 and Team America. Today I want to talk a little bit, though, about some of the latest news that I've been able to catch up on. In particular, the latest report from the International Monetary Fund. And this is something that we've been talking about for a long, long time. Not everybody wants to talk about it, and a lot of the mainstream hasn't been touching it. But people like Peter Schiff, and if you follow the right line of thinking, they've been predicting this, and this is just one more brick in the wall to say that things could turn ugly here again. The International Monetary Fund says the world economy has entered a major downturn with significant risks of worsening. Let me read that again. The world economy has entered a major downturn with significant risks of worsening. The International Monetary Fund said Wednesday in its annual World Economic Outlook. Why? Well, first let's finish that and then we'll get into why. After years of strong growth, the world economy is decelerating quickly. The report said global activity is being buffeted by extraordinary financial shocks and by still high energy and other commodity prices, which are going to go up, by the way. One of the biggest reasons, and one of the biggest reasons for the risks is government borrowing. Is the risk? Well, let me try that again. Government borrowing is rising risk to the world financial systems. The sharp rise in government debt during the economic crisis from already elevated levels helped create what the IMF says is the newest threat to the financial system: growing sovereign risk. This has been one of the biggest arguments the whole time. And before everybody on the left goes nuts, because I'm going to say that this administration has accelerated spending blindly and as though we're all on steroids, and there's no end in sight to the amount of spending that this administration is prepared to do, all in the guise of saying we're trying to help people, which our forefathers tell us is a fallacy. The Bush administration added its own debt to the problem as well, unfunded programs. So this is a governmental problem, folks. It just so happens that this particular president is much more is operating much more fast and loose with our money, and it's not even our money anymore. It's all borrowed money. Okay, let me read now. Knowing that debt around the world, and certainly America is the leader in that right now, and China's already said, hey, we're not going to be buying up all this debt. Let me read a couple of things from our forefathers, and whether you believe in the Constitution and what our forefathers had to say or not, their words are ringing very, very, very true, and it's only the ignorant that are going to ignore these words. I'm sorry, I have to just say that. Daniel Webster says, good intentions will always be pleaded for every assumption of authority. In other words, they're always going to, all of our politicians are going to plead for the American people to vote us in because we've got your best intentions in mind. It is hardly too strong to say that the Constitution was made to guard the people against the dangers of all those good intentions of the politicians. There are men in all ages who mean to govern well. They say, we're going to govern well. We're hearing that now as campaign rhetoric is roaring down the street. We mean to govern well, but at the end of the day, they mean to govern. Okay? They promise to be good masters. We're hearing that now from the politicians. We're going to be good masters. And the Democrats, boy, they look at all we've done. Look at Obama says now, boy, you need to thank me for all the great things we've done for you. And the Republicans are out there saying, we hear the conservative outcry, and now all of a sudden the Republican Party is the conservative party. They promise to be good masters, but when they get in there, they mean to master. They mean to be masters. These are words from our forefathers. And that's the problem with the system. And then when they get in there, we get more of the same, more of the same, more of the same, much, 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 much more of the same. And now we're in the problem that we're in right now, that our debt is so huge, it's actually creating huge risk to our sovereignty. Because all this money that's being spent under the guise of all this good intentions is borrowed money. It's money we don't have. And I guess that's what the American people, some of the American people, have still not woken up to. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, because I want to talk about who's really to blame for all of this nightmare that we're living right now. Alexander Tyler puts it this way: a democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters, now listen closely here everybody, until the voters discover they can vote themselves money from the public treasure. Do you hear what that is? Until they realize they can raid the public coffers, raid the pockets of others, that's when the demise of what we call democracy comes. From that moment on, the majority always votes for the candidates promising the most money from the public treasury. Hello? Is anybody listening out there? Isn't that what's happening? Isn't that what the Obama administration is counting on? Isn't that why this administration wants to legalize all the Mexican illegals? Because they know that if they can buy those votes, hey, we'll give you this and give you that and give you free medical, that's votes. Okay? And the healthcare nightmare that was passed. What do you think that's all about? Votes. We're buying votes. Hey, we'll take money from the public treasury and give it to all of you good people. See, we're going to be good masters, but we mean to be masters. Don't forget these words. With the result that the democracy always collapses over loose fiscal policies, followed by a dictatorship. Okay? You want to know why everybody's so angry? You want to know why the Tea Party folks are angry, and the Fair Tax folks are angry, and the Team America folks are angry, and most of America is angry? It's because of that statement right there. With the result that a democracy always collapses over loose fiscal policy, followed by a dictatorship. Let those words sink in just a little bit, America, because it is crucially important. I'm going to have to do a part 2. I'll be right back.